The drink sat between them like a live grenade, a tulip glass filled with golden liquid, softly fizzing, faintly glowing. Zareth's eyes never left it, or him. Her green fingers curled around the stem. Her pupils dilated slightly, and her chest rose with a breath that wasn't quite steady. Dax Mercer didn't know what the hell he'd just agreed to. "You drank it," Zareth said, voice low and reverent. "Yeah," Dax replied. "You dared me to." Zareth leaned in, her face lit by the pink neon glow of the diner's overhead sign. "You accepted a bonded challenge. You shared the ceremonial Felnick's nectar." Her voice dropped even lower. "With me." Dax blinked. "That wasn't on the menu." Zareth's expression was unreadable, her lips slightly parted, her scent, a kind of smoky citrus, filled the air between them like heat after lightning. "No, it's not for strangers, or friends. It's only offered once, and only to the one." "The one?" Dax repeated. Zareth nodded slowly. "My mate." Dax nearly choked. Wait. That was a proposal?" "No," Zareth said. "That was an answer." "I didn't ask a question," Dax hissed. "You didn't have to." She took his hand and placed it over hers, firmly but gently. "The act speaks." Dax stared at their interlocked hands. Her skin was smooth, almost too warm, and beneath the surface, something shimmered, like low-level bioluminescence tied to her heartbeat. "I just thought it was a drink," he muttered. Zareth tilted her head, examining him as though he'd sprouted antennae. "You're Terran. I forget how disconnected your species is from ritual. We're just used to beer, not lifelong commitment in a glass." From the next booth over, a couple of station workers paused mid-bite, glancing toward them. A server droid zipped past, oblivious. Neon flickered. Zareth's tone changed, suddenly formal. "Do you reject the bond, Dax of Terra?" He opened his mouth, then shut it. She looked so serious, not in a mocking way, not even dramatic, just real. Dax sat back against the booth. "Okay, let me get this straight. You offered me that drink, I took it. And in your culture that means—" "What exactly?" "It means we are joined by vow. I will not bond with another. I am yours," she said plainly. Dax rubbed the back of his neck. "That's, intense." "It is sacred," Zareth said. "It is not lightly given." He looked at her, really looked. The deep emerald of her skin, the flawless, symmetrical face, her eyes, glowing faintly with gold flecks like starlight, and underneath it all, the calm certainty of someone who just stepped off a ledge and trusted the universe to catch her. "You knew what would happen if I drank it?" he asked. Zareth nodded. "Yes." "And you gave it to me anyway?" "Yes." "Why?" She held his gaze. "Because I saw you weeks ago, bleeding at the port terminal after saving a child from a collapsing ramp. You didn't wait for thanks. You didn't wait for a crowd. You just vanished. I watched you vanish, and I couldn't forget it." Dax stared at her, stunned. Zareth continued, her voice almost a whisper now. "I watched you return to this diner 3 times. You always sit here, alone. You order food you never finish. You look at the door like you're waiting for something, or someone." His chest tightened. "You've been watching me. I've been hoping you'd see me," she said. "And when you did, I brought the nectar." Dax leaned forward, elbows on the table. "Okay, let's say I believe all that. What happens now? What does this bond mean?" Zareth didn't hesitate. "It means you are under my people's protection. It means we are mentally and biologically attuned. And it means my father will likely try to kill you." Dax froze. "What?" "He is warlord of the Virexia Accord. He's very traditional," Zareth said with a small shrug. "And I just bonded myself to an off-world mercenary with no house name, no bloodline, and a criminal record for disobeying port-martial protocol." "Technically, I just parked wrong," Dax muttered. "That won't help." Dax looked around. The diner's chatter faded into static. "You should have warned me." "I was afraid if I explained you wouldn't drink," Zareth admitted. "Of course I wouldn't have." Zareth leaned across the table, voice urgent. "But don't you feel it now, the shift?" Dax paused. There was a strange flutter in his chest. His hearing sharpened. He could make out individual conversations 3 booths over. His fingertips buzzed faintly where they touched hers. "What is this?" he asked, unsettled. "Your body is responding," she said. "The bond initiates adaptation, alignment. You're beginning to harmonize." "Like some kind of chemical reaction?" Zareth smiled gently. "Like fate, made real." Dax stood abruptly. The dizziness hit him all at once, not from fear, but from something deeper. His instincts were screaming. Not danger, not rejection, recognition. He'd met thousands of faces across the stars, but no one had ever looked at him the way Zareth did, like he was already hers. "I need air," he muttered. He stumbled out of the booth and made for the exit. Behind him, Zareth rose calmly and followed. Outside the diner, the station's upper promenade flickered with advertisements and late-night energy. Ships passed like silver ghosts beyond the observation windows. Dax leaned against the railing, breathing hard. Zareth appeared beside him, silent. "I've never been chosen before," Dax said finally. "You didn't choose to be a hero," Zareth replied. "But you were. You didn't choose to be alone. But you are." He turned to her. "And now you're saying I don't get to choose this either?" She stepped closer. "You drank the bond. That was your choice. I just offered it." Dax searched her face. "This is real for you?" "It is life," Zareth said. "It is how we survive. Connection, permanence, not possession, but promise." He looked down at her hand, still gently holding his. The warmth pulsed stronger now. Zareth asked again, voice almost trembling, "Do you reject the bond?" Dax opened his mouth, then closed it, and said quietly, "I don't know yet." Zareth nodded slowly. "Then I will wait." She leaned forward and touched her forehead to his, an old gesture, older than words. "I will wait as long as it takes," she whispered. The security alert hit the station's network less than an hour later. Dax heard it first, in the low murmur of a guard's radio as they passed through the lower atrium. "Code Echo 7. Unauthorized Virexi bonding. Target is Terran male. Repeat, Terran male bonded to Royal." Zareth kept walking like nothing had changed. Dax stopped dead. "They're talking about us." "They're trying not to use my name," Zareth said calmly. "If they do, my father will have to acknowledge the bond publicly. Right now, they're hoping to eliminate you quietly." "That's comforting," Dax muttered. Zareth took his hand without asking. "This way, I have a ship." "A royal warship, I assume?" Dax said dryly. "No," Zareth said. "A stolen freighter." Dax blinked. "Seriously? It's how I got here. You didn't think I walked into that diner from the palace?" Dax gave a short, startled laugh as they slipped into a side corridor. "I didn't think I was being courted by royalty in disguise either." "You weren't," Zareth said. "You were being chosen by someone desperate to feel free." Dax's heart gave a strange pull at that. They ducked into a maintenance shaft just as a patrol unit clanked past. Down below, steam hissed from an overworked turbine. Dax touched his comlink. Dead. Zareth had already disabled it. "You really planned this?" he asked as they emerged into a hangar's lower bay. "I plan to offer the bond," Zareth said. "Not to run, but I won't let them take you." They reached the dock, where a battered starfreighter sat with its ramp extended. It wasn't beautiful, but it looked fast, and it hummed with life. Dax paused at the base of the ramp. "If I go with you, I can't undo this, can I?" Zareth turned slowly, her green hair brushing her shoulders. "No. The bond is already forming. If you leave now, your nervous system will fragment. You'll start to lose sense of direction, of self. Within days, madness." Dax stared at her. "So I'm screwed either way." "No," Zareth said gently. "You're mated." He laughed once, dry, tired. "Same thing, isn't it?" "Not if you stop fighting it," she said. They lifted off into the starfield 23 minutes later. The cruiser jolted through local gravity pockets before stabilizing in high orbit. Zareth's hands moved with grace across the control panel. Dax sat beside her, arms crossed. "Where are we going?" he asked. Zareth's eyes flicked toward the display. "Neutral airspace. There's a rim station called Tanquerid. No political affiliations, no Dominion enforcement. Dax leaned back. Sounds nice, quiet, romantic even. I wasn't planning a honeymoon, Zareth replied, smirking slightly. Dax looked at her sidelong. You're awfully calm for someone who just betrayed her entire culture. Zareth's smile faded. I stopped belonging to them the moment I looked into your eyes. Dax fell silent. After a while he said, So what happens if I decide I don't want this? Zareth's jaw clenched. You'll live, but I won't. Virexi bonds aren't reversible. You'd die? He asked, stunned. No. But I'll stop changing, stop adapting, emotionally, chemically. I'll stay locked in a half-state. It's excruciating. He swallowed hard. You knew that, and you gave it to me anyway. Zareth nodded once. Because I saw something in you worth risking for. You saw a guy who eats alone and parks like crap. I saw a man who saves children without asking who they belong to. Dax stood up, restless, pacing across the cabin. Why me? Really? There had to be someone better. There were stronger men, Zareth said. Richer, smarter. But they were never kind. They never looked tired and still chose to help anyway. Dax turned back to her. You don't even know what I've done. Zareth tilted her head. Then tell me. He hesitated. I fought in the Trelix uprising. I smuggled munitions into places that didn't exist on maps. And when it went sideways, I left a squad behind because I thought I could draw fire away from them. They all died anyway. I've spent the last 4 years telling myself it was the only play I had. Zareth stood slowly and walked toward him. You're not the only one who carries ghosts. He met her eyes. What did you lose? My sister, Zareth said. She was supposed to be the next heir. She refused her bond. She wanted to choose her own path. My father had her exiled. She never made it off the transport. The engine exploded mid-flight. Officially, it was a malfunction. Everyone knows it wasn't. I'm sorry, Dax said quietly. She believed in something freer. So do I. For a long moment they just stood there, two broken pieces staring into the void together. Then Zareth stepped closer. The bond isn't a prison, Dax. It's a mirror. It shows us who we are when no one's watching, Dax asked. And what do you see? I see a man who thinks he's unworthy of being loved, and I see the woman who's already done it. He reached up and touched her face. Her skin pulsed beneath his fingers. Not warmth, not heat. Something alive, synchronizing. Zareth whispered, The bond is accelerating. Dax stepped back. Why? Because you stopped resisting. An alarm blared on the console. Zareth moved to the screen. No, already? Dax stepped beside her. What is it? A tracking signature, Zareth said. From the Virexi flagship, my father's ship. Let me guess. They're not here for a wedding toast. No, she said. They're here to kill you and take me back. Dax reached for his gun. Then we fight. Zareth turned to him. No, we don't win that way. But we do survive. He narrowed his eyes. What are you thinking? Zareth replied. There's a planet nearby, uninhabited, storm-covered. If we dive into the upper atmosphere, we can hide. Just long enough for the flagship to lose our trail. Dax looked at the screen. That'll kill the transponder. Good, she said. From now on, no one gets to own our names. They descended into the storm 6 minutes later. Lightning cracked around the hull. Rain pounded the metal skin of the freighter. Inside, oxygen scrubbers hummed and lights flickered. Dax and Zareth sat in silence as the storm howled around them. He finally said, So what now? Zareth leaned back in the pilot's chair. Now we wait, and you decide. Decide what? Dax asked. If you're going to keep running, she said, or finally let someone run with you. The storm didn't let up. For 3 days, lightning clawed at the sky outside. The ship stayed buried beneath the swirling cloud cover, cradled in a jagged ridge. It was the only way to remain invisible. Inside the freighter, silence grew louder. Dax paced the narrow galley corridor, unable to sit still. His body felt different. His thoughts tangled faster. Sometimes a memory would rise, vivid and sharp, but not his own. The taste of spice on a homeworld he'd never visited. The smell of ocean wind beneath two suns. He rounded the corner into the cockpit. Zareth sat in the pilot's chair, eyes half closed. Her breathing was shallow but even. Sweat beaded along her collarbone. "Zareth," Dax said quietly. She didn't open her eyes. "It's intensifying. The bond." "I can feel it too," Dax admitted. "It's like I'm carrying thoughts that don't belong to me." "They do now," Zareth murmured. "Our minds are sinking. The second stage is memory bleed." Dax sat across from her. "Is that safe?" "Only if we let it happen." She opened her eyes now, locking onto his. "If we resist, it fractures us." "Fractures," Dax repeated. As in coma, madness, or emotional disintegration," he swallowed. "You're just full of good news, aren't you?" Zareth smiled faintly. "It's not a punishment. It's a reckoning." "For what?" "For who we really are." Later, when she was resting, Dax sat beside her, watching the rain trace patterns on the window. He whispered, "Tell me something I couldn't know otherwise." Zareth opened her eyes slowly. "When I was 10, I tried to unbind a butterfly from my mother's specimen case. I thought if I could save it, it would mean something. It died in my hand." Dax let the silence settle. "I used to lie awake at night," he said, "imagining what my brother would look like if he'd made it off-world. He was 15 when the rebels took the shelter. I was 11. I crawled out. He didn't." Zareth sat up, brushing hair from her face. "You've never told anyone that before." "No," Dax said. "Never needed to." "And now you do?" He looked at her. "Now I don't want to carry it alone." That night, the dream came without warning. Dax stood in a throne room, crystalline walls stretching into infinity. Zareth stood beside him, not in her corset or the red leather, but in ceremonial robes. Her eyes glowed with power. A voice thundered from above. "You have corrupted the bloodline. The bond is unnatural." Dax tried to speak, but his mouth wouldn't move. Zareth raised her hand and fire bloomed from her palm. She whispered, "I choose him." The room shattered. He woke, gasping. Across the cabin, Zareth jolted upright, breathing just as hard. "You saw it?" Dax asked. "I see every dream now," Zareth said, voice shaking. "Even the ones I wish I didn't." He sat beside her. "We're not built for this." "No," she agreed, "but that's what makes it real." Dax stared at the floor. "I've spent my whole life walking away from people. I didn't know how to stay." "And I've spent mine pretending I didn't need anyone to," Zareth said. "I'm not a hero," Dax said. "I don't know how to carry you." "I never needed a hero," she said. "Just someone who won't put me down when I break." Dax looked at her, and for the first time, he realized she wasn't unshakable. The woman who had defied a dynasty, who had faced down warships without blinking, was trembling in the quiet, afraid he'd run. "I'm not running," Dax said softly. Zareth exhaled, and her whole body relaxed. "Then we'll survive this." The next day, the ship's systems buzzed to life. Storm interference faded, communication lines opened, but they didn't move, not yet. Zareth stood at the viewport, arms crossed. "They'll be scanning again. My father's people. They'll think we're dead, or hidden." "What happens if we go back?" Dax asked. "They'll try to nullify the bond by force," Zareth said. "That means blood tests, restraints, neural dampening." He made a face. "Sounds like a honeymoon." "It means they'll try to tear you from my mind," Zareth said, "and me from yours." Dax stood behind her. "They won't." Zareth turned to him. "You're sure?" "No," Dax said. "But I'm done hiding who I am, and I'm done pretending I don't want this." Her breath caught. "Say it again." "I want this," Dax said. "I want you, even if it started by accident, even if the universe had to drug me to get me here." Zareth laughed. "It didn't. You drank willingly." He stepped closer, hands brushing her waist. "Then maybe I was always meant to." They stood forehead to forehead, like the night at the diner. But this time, no one was watching. Zareth whispered, "Then seal it." "I thought we did," Dax replied. Not completely, she said. There's one more step, one final convergence. Is it dangerous? He asked. Zareth nodded. Yes, because it's not chemical, not ritual. What is it? Dax asked. It's surrender, she said. He hesitated, then nodded. Then take it. Zareth reached out and placed her palm against his chest. He mirrored the gesture. Light bloomed between them, not seen but felt. Every memory, every thought, every failure and every hope, laid bare, accepted, not erased, not judged, shared. And when it passed, they stood in perfect silence, heartbeats no longer separate. The call came 12 hours after they sealed the bond. A sharp pulse across the long-range band. No encryption, no pretense. Royal daughter Zareth of the Virexi Accord, you are ordered to surrender yourself at once. The Terran male will be remanded to containment. This is not negotiable. Zareth stood frozen at the console. Dax stood behind her, fists clenched. Dax asked, "They know where we are?" "They must have traced the convergence wave," Zareth said quietly. "The bond's completion sends out a psionic signature. My father's fleet would have sensed it." Dax's jaw tightened. "They're coming." Zareth nodded. "Yes." Another pulse arrived. This time, a direct visual. The hollow flared to life. A towering man appeared, green-skinned, broad-shouldered, eyes burning with fury. "Daughter," the warlord growled, "you have shamed your line. You will return. Now." Zareth straightened, chin high. "I will not." "Then your Terran toy will die screaming." Dax stepped forward. "You can try," the warlord sneered. "You believe mating makes you her equal human? You are prey," Zareth cut in. "He is my mate. Under ancient law, you cannot undo what has been sealed." "I can unseal your mind," her father spat. "I can strip this Terran from your blood with fire and blade." Dax's hand hovered over his weapon. "I'm not letting them take you." Zareth's voice was calm. "Nor am I letting them take you." The warlord's glare deepened. "I give you 1 hour. Surrender, or the storm will be the least of your horrors." The hollow vanished. Dax turned to her. "We can run." Zareth shook her head. "They'll chase us to the edges of the stars." "Then we fight," Dax said. Zareth exhaled. "We do something harder." "What's harder than fighting?" Dax asked. "We stand," Zareth said. "Publicly, on my world, before their laws." Dax stared at her. "That's suicide." "It's the only way to make them see," Zareth said. "If we flee, they will always call me corrupted. If we face them, they must witness what we are." Dax looked at her long and hard. "Then we do it together." The transport down to Virexi Prime was cold and silent. Dax sat beside her in ceremonial black. Zareth wore deep crimson, her clan color, bold, unrepentant. As they entered orbit, Dax glanced at her. "You scared?" "Yes," Zareth admitted. "But not of them. I'm afraid of losing you." "You won't," Dax said. "You still have the right to walk away," Zareth whispered. "I won't," Dax said firmly. She looked at him then, her gaze shining. "Then no matter what happens, I've already won." The grand chamber of the Virexi High Council buzzed with electric tension. Hundreds of officials gathered, their voices a low drone of disbelief. At the center of the hall, Dax and Zareth stood beneath the Eye of Judgment, a towering crystal designed to read the truth of a bond. The warlord entered last, cloaked in black and gold. He stood before them, voice cold. "Present your mate." Zareth stepped forward. "I do." The eyes shimmered, scanning them. The chamber gasped as the bond signature pulsed visible, twined lights of green and pale gold wrapping in perfect harmony. The warlord's voice cracked. "It cannot be." "It is," Zareth said. Dax spoke loudly. "I didn't plan this, but I will not deny it. I love her, that's no accident." The room roared with outrage. One elder rose. "It was a trick. The human forced it." "No," Zareth said clearly. "I chose him." "The human does not deserve our blood," another cried. Dax stepped forward. "You talk about blood like it makes you better. I've bled for people I never met. I've saved children who weren't mine. I know what loyalty is. Do you?" The room fell silent. The eye pulsed again. Affirmation. Zareth turned to her father. You taught me strength, now witness it. The warlord's fists shook. I could crush you both. Then do it, Dax said, stepping in front of her. But know this, you'll break your own law, you'll break your own people, they see it, they feel it. The warlord hesitated. Across the chamber voices began to shift. A younger noble spoke. The bond is true. Another, quieter. They stood before the eye. A third, to deny this is to deny the law. The warlord's face contorted in rage, but finally, slowly, he stepped back. I do not bless this union, he growled, but I cannot break it. Zareth reached for Dax's hand. Dax took it without hesitation. The warlord's voice echoed. You are now outcasts, but you are alive. Dax smiled grimly. We'll take it. Outside the chamber, beneath Virexi's twin moons, Dax and Zareth stood alone. Dax exhaled. We survived. Zareth squeezed his hand. No, we lived. He turned to her. And now? She smiled. Now we make a life. Dax brushed her cheek. Together. Always, Zareth whispered. Their foreheads touched beneath the stars. Not by accident, by choice. They didn't speak much in the days after. There were no parades, no celebrations, no official recognition. The warlord had allowed them to walk free, but only just. Zareth's name had been stricken from the official line of succession. Dax's face was now on a half-dozen Dominion watch lists, and yet for the first time in years, Dax Mercer didn't feel like a fugitive. He felt like someone who had stopped running. They took a quiet shuttle to a neutral rim planet, low gravity, high light, no political entanglements. A place where no one knew them, a place where they didn't have to explain. The village was small, dusty, the kind of place where stars looked close enough to touch. Zareth stood barefoot at the edge of a quiet bluff, wind in her hair, green skin glowing in the twin sunset. Dax joined her. You could have had everything, power, legacy. I did, Zareth said without turning. I just chose a different kind. He stepped beside her. You're not angry about what you gave up? I didn't give it up, she said. I gave it meaning. He was quiet for a while. I thought I'd feel unworthy. Zareth turned to him. You still do. Yeah, Dax said with a rueful laugh. I'm trying not to. You don't have to try, she said. You just have to stop hiding. Dax looked at her seriously. I never thought I'd belong to anyone. Never thought I'd want to. My whole life's been movement, surviving. I didn't think I had a place. You didn't, Zareth said softly. So we made one. They stood together in the fading light. Then Zareth said, I want to rebind the bond. Dax blinked. We already did the ritual. That was cultural, Zareth said. Instinctual, sacred, yes, but not chosen. I want one we decide together. He stepped closer. What would that even look like? Zareth smiled gently. Say something real. Something I can believe in, and I'll say mine. Dax thought for a long moment. Then he reached for her hand. I don't know how to be perfect, he said. But I know how to stay. I know how to fight for the things I care about. I don't want a bond because of instinct. I want it because when you're not near me, I don't like who I am. I want to wake up next to you in quiet places. I want to argue about ration packs and engine maintenance. I want to be yours because I finally understand what that means. Zareth's eyes shimmered. She replied, I always feared I was too much, too loud, too sacred, too seen. But you looked past the bloodline and the flame. You saw me, just as I am, and you stayed. I vow that every breath you give me, I will return in kind. I vow that wherever we go next, I'll carry your heart like it's my home. The air between them thickened, not with biology, not with fire, with peace. Zareth lifted her hand. Dax mirrored it. Their palms pressed together. Light bloomed gently at the point of contact, no longer pulsing, no longer wild, balanced, chosen. Later that night, they lay together in the tiny shelter they'd built with their own hands. No servants, no stations, no protocol. Dax traced lazy lines across her shoulder, eyes half closed. I used to dream of dying alone, he said softly. Now I dream of breakfast with you. Zareth chuckled. That's either tragic or romantic. Can't it be both? She tilted her head. Do you regret it? No, Dax said instantly. But I regret waiting so long to believe it was possible. Zareth leaned over and kissed him slowly. Then believe it now. Weeks passed. They worked odd jobs on transport ships, helped terraform small colonies, cooked meals over actual flame. They laughed more, argued over stupid things, slept with fingers tangled. People began to recognize them, not as fugitives, as symbols. The bond that was supposed to break tradition became a myth. And myths, Zareth said, always find a way to outlive the rules. One day, an elder from Virexi came to their door. We want you to come home, he said. Not to kneel, to lead. Zareth glanced at Dax. He smiled. We lead together, or not at all. The elder nodded. Then teach us how. Years later, stories would be told of the Terran who drank from the wrong glass and changed an empire. But to them, it had never been about destiny or diplomacy. It was about two people who found each other in the wreckage of fear and chose, again and again, to stay.